Welcome back to Racing Across America on this Friday morning. We kick things off with Don Little from Centennial Farms. Good morning, Don.
Good morning.
Happy to have you on board. Talk a little the weekend stakes action, some of your other horses as well. You and I were talking just before we went on the air, though, and I've been asking people who participated, the EquestriCon event from a couple of weeks ago. Your thoughts overall? I think there was great buzz in the building and in town. You said you popped around to some of the talks and seminars and whatnot. Your overall feeling on the event?
Well, for a first time out, I thought they did a phenomenal job. One interesting thing that they mentioned to me was that 80 to 90% of the people that went through the door were from out of state.
Oh, that is interesting.
So it was kind of interesting that the new fans or people who had never been to Saratoga, they packaged the deal, if you will. They came to EquestriCon, got to meet some of the industry leaders, listened to some phenomenal panel discussions, and took in Saratoga for the first time. So it worked. I thought it worked out really, really well.
Yeah, looking forward to maybe tweak things up a little bit next year and see how it works out. But I thought for year one it went very, very well.
They should be proud.
Let's talk a little bit about Centennial Farms. You go down the list of horses you guys have had: Wicked Strong, Corinthian, King Cougat, Groundstorm, Colonial Affair, Horse Unified. Just very recently announced as retired, but I pulled up the Gulfstream Park Sprint Championship from earlier this year. Unified's going to be the number one horse. Notable because running second, number 6, a little horse called Mind Your Biscuits. Unified was a very good horse for you guys. Won the Bayshore, won the Peter Pan, and this Gulfstream Park Sprint Stake before running second in the Carter. And as I say, recently retired. But boy, this was a nice runner for you guys.
Yeah, he was very exciting, and we knew it right from the beginning when he was at the farm. And when he got to Jimmy in the beginning, he showed just a ton of talent, ton of class, effortless speed. When he broke his maiden at Gulfstream, and I think it was January of his 3-year-old year, we knew he'd put in a big effort, but to win the way he did first time out and get a 99 buyer was quite impressive, and we definitely knew we had something then.
Yeah, it was, again, a very nice horse, and again, retired. What's the game plan in retirement?
Well, he's standing at Lane's End, who we bought him from initially, and we couldn't be happier and proud of his efforts on the racetrack, and we're sure that Lane's End's reputation and having him stand there will be a great thing going forward. And I think anybody that wants to put a little speed in the mare, who else do you go to?
Yeah, he was very impressive in a short career, but kind of a brilliant career as well. So congratulations on him. Yeah. I mentioned some of the other ones. Talk about some of your favorites over the years. I'm assuming you get a classic win with a horse like Colonial Affair. That's got to bring back a lot of memories.
Well, I can always picture it, and we have it in a new video that we just put out of my father holding the Belmont Trophy with his hair everywhere. And, I had just been sort of joined Centennial after my career in playing professional polo, and it was a nice way to start it off, I guess you could say. And a lot of exciting horses. Rubiano to come along. He was a fantastic sprinter. But I have to say, Wicked Strong was probably, to me, one of the most influential horses we've had. It was a success financially, but the way it impacted people around the country, you couldn't have written it better. You had the name of the horse after the marathon bombing, donating some proceeds of his purses to the one fund, which equated to around $45,000. Suffolk Downs had its largest attendance at a Kentucky Derby in 10 years, and 70% of the wager was on Wicked Strong. So, it brought some recognition from racing to the New England, who was suffering a little bit with Suffolk Downs, and it was just an exciting road to do. So.
Talk a little bit about the philosophy behind Centennial Farms, acquiring horses, and what your game plan is.
Well, the game plan is to, like a lot of people, but we're specifically looking for horses that have a deep female pedigree, that if they are successful on the racetrack, many of the stud farms around the country and around the world, would be interested in standing him at stud after their racing career. As an example, since we've been in business since 1989, we've placed 13 stallions throughout the world after our program. So we think we're doing the right thing. We've proven we've done the right thing. We're going to continue it. Most of that success is goes to Dr. Steve Carr, who selects the horses for us. Paula Parsons, they're and the people involved with Centennial are all horse people. They grew up riding horses themselves. They competed in different horse venues: polo, show jumping, cross country, steeplechase, jockeys themselves. Jimmy played polo. I played polo against Jimmy. I mean, Jimmy's dad and my dad played polo against and with each other. So I mean, it's a neat group. We have a philosophy to get the classic type horses, and we've been able to do that.
People are interested. If people are interested, you have a website, and I'm sure people can contact you. And I say it whenever I have some of the partnership syndicate type people in here. Always worth getting in touch and doing a little research, because there are different levels, and there's a place for everybody who wants to get involved.
That's the neatest thing about the sport. I mean, you can get in for a small amount, you can get in for a large amount, you can do it on your own, you can do it with a group of people. It's not like a professional sports franchise. I mean, you can have a piece of the action for a fraction of the cost, and diversifying your risk is a very important thing.
Let's jump in and talk a little bit about the weekend. You've got the horse coming up in the Saranac tomorrow, the Grade 3 event, 1 1/8 miles on the grass. While we talk, going to pull up a win earlier in the meet for Rocketry. This is going to be right at the beginning of the meet, July 28th. Rocketry is going to be the number 8 horse in here. Win by a chart margin of 1.5. So coming off of that race, jumps into the stakes race on the weekend. A little salty little stakes race in here with the first 2 finishers coming out of the Hall of Fame, Bricks and Mortar and Yoshida. The Voodoo Song, who's trying for win number 4 at the meet for Linda Rice. But your horse coming off of this win, I think, comes in moving in the right direction. What are your thoughts on Rocketry tomorrow?
Well, he's training well. He's actually put on about 50 pounds since this last race, and he's getting a little bit of aura about himself and confidence just around the barn. The distance initially was a little bit of a concern, because his closing, 1/8 of a mile is very impressive in a longer distance race, but. Jose said he can manage him pretty well, have him up a little bit earlier in the race, and the one thing about him is he does what you ask of him. I remember last year he was up here as a 2-year-old, and it only seems like yesterday he was a little narrow thing and a little kid, so to speak, but he's really come into himself, and he deserves a shot. And I think looking at his buyers, they're almost a mirror image of Brooks and Mortar, and they've never run against each other, so it'll be an interesting test, and we want to give them a chance.
Yeah, I think you guys are absolutely live in there, and what is a salty little race, but
I think it is.
Give you a good shot, and good luck tomorrow. Also wanted to pull up, we talked about some of your nicer horses. I wanted to pull up just from memory lane, going back to the Met Mile. I mean, have a horse like this, it's got to be great too. You win. It's not just a Grade 1. This is one of the better Grade 1s in the country when you can win the Grade 1 Met Mile. Number 8 is going to be Corinthian here, going back to the 2007 Met Mile. But then you won Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile with this horse too. Just give us some memories of Corinthian.
Well, I mean, he was quite a difficult horse, actually, in around the barn, and Jimmy's had some good stories to tell. I remember one time before the Gulfstream Park Handicap, when he breezed him 7 furlongs and figured it was time to get him used to the pony again, and sure enough, as soon as Jimmy was on the pony at the time, and Corinthian wheeled and knocked Jimmy off the pony and sent the pony back to the barn by itself. But he was, when he was on his game, he had a lot of talent. And I remember the day before the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, when it was pouring rain, and watched him do his little breeze, gallop out and down the lane like Jimmy likes to do, and he was just so impressive on the wet surface. But Gainesway and Mr. Beck was very happy to put in the little extra bonus after that race, and unfortunately he didn't quite hit as a stallion, but he was sure as exciting as a racehorse.
Yeah.
Very successful.
Like I say, you can get the Met Mile in there in a Breeders' Cup race. It's got to be very.
And of course,
special.
the Met Mile, Jimmy just beat his dad. His dad's horse was coming up very close behind, and Jimmy said, "Well, I got Dad on that one." So,
went to the website yesterday, pulled up. You got a couple of horses on your stable roster now that folks can maybe jump into: a Bodemeister colt and a Malibu Moon colt. Talk a little bit about the up and comers.
Well, again, they fit the program. They have a deep pedigree, both of them. Interestingly enough, since Wicked Strong has been at Spendthrift, we've been trying to do a little something with them, and we hope, it's going to be successful. But we landed on the same horse, and luckily we talked a little bit about it beforehand, and we're doing a little 50-50 partnership with them and this horse on the Malibu Moon. And the Bodemeister in particular is very attractive. I mean, Memories of Silver is one of the best fillies that Darby Dan ever owned. We're thrilled to have him. He really has that look about him, look of Eagles as we like to call it. And we're excited to have him join the roster and look forward to getting 3 or 4 more in Keeneland.
You and I were talking before we went on the air. Limited number of starters up here at Saratoga, but they've done very well. 100% in the money, but you're looking for a big fall, maybe downstate.
Yeah, we have. We should have by the end of this fall, another 7 2-year-olds coming to Jimmy. We have probably 3 or 4 that will make a start as a 2-year-olds, and then the others, earlier they're 3-year-old year. But typically we buy 6 to 8 yearlings, 2-year-olds every year. We feel that's a good number. We want to keep it small so the people involved are they're the owners, and we want them to give them every opportunity to participate at whatever level they wish.
Are there any sales you prefer over the others?
Actually, the most of the horses we've had success with have come out of this sale that recently ended, the Fasig-Tipton. Wicked Strong was out of Keeneland, but I think we've had 7 or 8 Grade 1 winners out of the Fasig-Tipton sale.
Nice. You and I were also talking before we went on the air, and I wanted to touch on this a little bit because Virginia has gone through some tough times, as did Maryland for a while, that whole Mid-Atlantic region. Maryland has bounced back now, but Virginia seems to potentially be on a little bounce back as well. You're talking about the new program.
Well, they just put into place, it was effective July 1st of this year, that beginning with foals of 2016, and if horses are what they call residents, take residence in Virginia, so all of the yearlings that we buy this year are eligible for that, and they maintain residence in the state of Virginia, they are then eligible for a 25% bonus of all the Mid-Atlantic racetracks, plus New Jersey and New York included, with a cap of $10,000. So, throw a little $10,000 on top of every win is not a bad way to offset some expenses. And we've actually had a couple people call us already if we had any extra stalls at the farm to bring horses in there. So, it's obviously being noticed. And, we're proud to say we've been in Middleburg since day one. And it's a great horse country and train over Paul Mellon's original training facility.
Yeah, easy to root for that whole Mid-Atlantic region to bounce back the way it has a little bit. And Virginia certainly has a great racehorse history, and so we're rooting for them down there. Also, before we let you go, wanted to let you touch on the aftercare issue a little bit. You were talking before we went on the air on that topic as well, and that's kind of been a hot-button issue with the racing industry for the past few years, and the racing industry is kind of now really embracing things, but you guys are doing something as well.
Well, it goes back to, again, the people involved in Centennial and the partnerships and the team itself being horse people, horse backgrounds. So through our network, just of clients ourselves, we actually have now a list of 5 people that are waiting for any horses that Centennial's retiring from racing to go into show jumping or things of that sort, fox hunting in particular in Middleburg. And, it's interesting. We just got a note from a horse by the name of Salute the Chief that was a congrats colt, just won reserve champion at hits rated horse show in Culpeper, Virginia. We have Salisbury Knight, who was competing in the Rolex 3-day event in Kentucky last year. And I actually have one in my hometown, in my home backyard as well. But it's nice to know. We also participate with other Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation, Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance, all of those as well. But it's nice to have our own little sort of network, if you will, to place these horses that have given so much to us.
Sure, that's great. I have the waiting list sitting out there for those second careers. Don, we got to let you go, but certainly wish you a great success this weekend with Rocketry going forward in the fall with the 2-year-olds and whatnot. And if folks want more information, they can go to the website.
CentennialFarms.com, and everything's right there. And of course, we're all over social media, and which we're very proud of. And hopefully we
taking
do
some
well
pictures for
Saturday.
social media as we
Susie's
speak.
down there.
So
we
will look for things to be posted momentarily on that end of things. But Don, again, I appreciate the visit. Good luck this weekend.
Great, thank you very much.
Don Little from Centennial Farms will take